Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for June 25th, 2021. I'm Benji Fisher, sharing my screen. And also on the meeting are Aaron McHale, Ofer Schall, and Thomas Howell. And I should say for the recording that none of us is a certified usability expert, but we all have an interest in the subject. And the value of this meeting is that we get people with a variety of backgrounds, which is really helpful for discussing usability issues. So we have site builders, backend developers. Offer, do you consider yourself a front-end developer?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. And I don't see any designers on the call today, but often we have some of those. So let me just briefly mention issue 3059984. Add a new content editor role to the standard profile. We've talked about this recently, and I only bring it up today because it was just tagged some hours ago as needing project manager review. And we do sometimes get Gabor or Angie or Roy on these calls. So they're the ones who are likely to provide that review. But if they don't show up, there are two other issues we've identified. Both of these are things that Quiet One or Vicky Spagnola has mentioned on the usability channel. And let's actually start with this one. I think this is the one, Aaron, you dug up from the archives. It's issue 3218510. Rename default download method to default file storage scheme. I certainly agree that download method is a poor description of what that does. I'm not sure what a better description would be. Aaron, do you want me to scroll to a particular comment? Or
no, just there's a couple of screenshots there. There's a couple of screenshots, and I actually think I agree that change is good, but I actually think default file storage like on its own is a fine term. I think like adding the word scheme or schema or whatever is just a bit overkill personally. But if you scroll slightly further down to the most recent comments, so I posted one just now in response to Euro because he wondered if Core only provided the public file storage, and I suggested that I think that is also where it gives the option for private file storage if it's configured, and I was trying to bring up a site that I thought might have that configured just to confirm, and I'm actually still in the process of trying to do that. And so if you bear with me a moment, I will be able to confirm if that is indeed where you get that option as well, because that could of course impact what makes the most sense there. If it's presumably, I'm sure that's where it does show up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right about that. Public and private are provided by Drupal core. The only other module I know of that provides different options is the fly system module.
And I do wonder if there's other cases where like maybe a site is using some kind of content CDN backend or something, and they have the option to do file storage. If there's like CDN kind of modules that might add additional options there, as you said. That's the only other kind of case I can think.
Yeah, so I guess in addition to fly system, there might be something that's specifically dedicated to Amazon S3 storage. But those provide storage on something like Amazon S3 or other external storage systems. So should we talk a little about the proposed word change? So you just suggest dropping the word scheme.
Yeah, and just I'm literally right now trying to grab a screenshot because I found the site that I was thinking of that has the private option. So I was going to grab a screenshot drop that in the issue as we were talking, and then be like, "Hey Benji, just refresh the page. Look what I did."
Thomas, offer any opinions on the wording?
Nothing really strong here. I mean, I'm fine either way. It's not a big deal to me.
Yep, same here.
I think I agree that scheme is not a helpful word in that label. This is where we're going to store files by default. Let me, for the sake of the recording, let me read the full thing. The current screenshot shows default download method, and that's changed to default file storage scheme. And then there's a further description on that. I guess there can be more than one option, so it's not a further description, but the only option provided by default, which is then selected, is public local files served by the web server. And then the description is, this setting is used as the preferred download method. The use of public files is, that's cut off in the screenshot. It goes on to say something like, public files is more efficient, but private files give you more control over who can download them. So I guess in addition to changing download method to file storage or file storage scheme, the description changes to, this setting is used as the preferred file storage scheme. Again, I would remove scheme. The use of public files is simplest, and then it gets cut off. Contributed modules can add support for additional schemes.
Hey Benji, refresh the page. Look what I did. There you go.
Okay,
so that's how it looks if its private files are configured.
So now we see two options: public local files served by the web server, or private local files served by Drupal. And this is the current one without the patch. This setting is used as the preferred download method. The use of public files is more efficient, but does not provide any access control.
Yeah, that's just raw core right there.
And I guess if there are more options, then that might get a little confusing, because that only describes the difference between public and private, or at least that's what it's aiming to describe. And if there are other options, then that second sentence seems a little out of place.
The second sentence in the screen right now, or in the change?
In the screen right now,
okay,
showing the current description.
Yeah, maybe even like default file storage method. I wonder if, I'm just going back to the titling of that the option, because like method is not a method is if you think if there's like when there's more than one option, method kind of makes sense as a word. It is kind of a method of storing files. So even just changing download to file storage for me is an improvement.
I'm going to say this is a case of less is more. I don't think method adds much either. I like default file storage.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's clunky, actually. So yeah, I agree.
And,
please
and
remove my
maybe
term.
the help text should point out that individual fields can override the default.
It would make sense. It's instructional.
All right, so I suppose after the meeting, I can post a comment too, since I do have some familiarity with the fly system module, and I can probably also add a screenshot showing some of the other options. And I would like to get the label text and the description text added as text under proposed resolution. We usually put screenshots under user interface changes.
Yeah. Is in that second screenshot, is it also adding the contributing modules thing? I guess it is.
Yes, the new help text mentions contributed modules.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see. It's changed the far right. Okay, I get it. It's too bad it's cut off because it doesn't, and also it's not. The screenshots aren't highlighting that the description changes. It's just highlighting the big red boxes.
Right, and what I can see of the suggested text could be shortened. Contributed modules can add support for additional schemes. Seems to me overcomplicated. Contributed modules can add other options.
Yeah, I think the word scheme there as well is like, for instance, this setting is used as the preferred file storage scheme. Like I think something like this setting is used something about like file storage is fine, but again, I think maybe method is better there, or like maybe just drop scheme from there as well, because even there, I don't know if that's adding much.
Right,
This setting
I
is
don't
used
think
as,
either one adds much.
yeah. This setting is used as the preferred file storage. I think that sentence on its own stands. Like, yeah, scheme is
Agreed.
excessive. If you open up the patch, you could probably see the full. It's probably not a very big patch because it's just changing some text, so you'll probably get the full wording in the patch.
Right.
Oh, it's a merge request. If you go to changes,
Yeah, I see.
changes link there.
Changes, not plain diff.
Yeah.
File storage scheme instead of download method. Contributed modules can add support for additional schemes, e.g. object storage, which enable more advanced file storage and download options. I don't think you have to say more advanced. I think just other options. And I think it should, when you say something is the default, then unless it's obvious, I think you should say something about where that default can be overridden. And in this case, it's individual fields can override the default.
Yeah, I think there's more words there than are necessary. Also, I'm pretty sure that BR tag is not HTML5 compliant. It's using the old XHTML4.
Oh, really? The slash
Yeah,
is not HTML5 compliant?
I think they took that out. I don't think you need that in HTML5. I think it's self-closing tags don't need to. Yeah, I don't think they need the slash.
Okay. Okay, I think enough said on this issue. And let's also have a look at 200849. Usability, order of status and error messages. And I'm afraid Quiet One mentioned this in Slack, and I did not have a chance to look at it beforehand. Oh, so this isn't about the site status report. So usability, order of status and error messages. If there are several status and or error messages shown on the same page, they are often not in any reasonable order. The order messages are thrown is sometimes not the order the processes logically take place. This is especially true when other modules plug in via a hook and throw additional messages. This usability problem is especially severe when there are both status and error messages. First, the status messages are bundled to a list, then the bundle of error messages follows separately. While this looks pretty and clean, it would often make a lot more sense to have the messages in a logical ordering. A good example is the admin build modules page. Just look at the enclosed picture and you see what I mean. This is really confusing. And I guess we can look at that screenshot in a minute. To fix this, I propose to add a wait key to Drupal set messages, so messages can be logically ordered, to only bundle status messages with the same weight to a list to avoid a logical connection being suggested that doesn't exist. Messages with different weights should be displayed one by one. Not to keep status warning and error messages together, but to line them up intermixed. So let's look at this screenshot. So there are 3 status messages. The first says database tables for the copyright module have been successfully installed. Second, the configuration options have been saved. Third, no information is available about potential new releases for currently installed modules and themes, and I won't read the rest of it. And then there's a warning or error message. Inserting standard licenses failed.
This screenshot's got to be from like Drupal 6, right?
Yes, I was thinking the same thing. It looks like the Garland theme.
Yeah. Was that the URL? Admin/build/modules? Was that like Drupal 6?
I don't recall.
Yeah. Must have been, yeah.
But presumably the error warning message about standard licenses is related to the first of the status messages, which mentions the copyright module has been installed. So this is from 2007. That might even be Drupal 5.
Isn't it more likely
Yeah.
6?
What's that?
You sure it's not 6? It looked like
I am
6.
not sure. It's certainly not 7. It's either 5 or 6. So it's already tagged with needs issue summary update, and generally I ask for that before we review it at a meeting like this.
I kind of struggling with this one because there's a logical point there that like if you've got a bunch of messages right on the screen, as that example, you want them to be grouped together, in a way that logically so that they relate to each other. Like if this copyright module, presumably it still exists, maybe it doesn't, has a status and an error message, but there's also other things on the screen. Like you need to find a way to, like, I guess it helps to link them together, but also on the flip side, I think from a visual perspective, having every message, and I'm just thinking about the way that like Claro presents status messages, right? They're big boxes. Having a whole bunch of those big boxes on the screen is potentially is a bit could be overwhelming, and having them interlinked together. I also think, like, how likely is this scenario going to come up? Like, I don't think this is a likely scenario. I'm being totally honest.
Why has it been open for so long is my question. Like why it surprises me that it's made it through all of the backlog calls that have occurred over the years. Is there a reason that I'm not seeing?
Have you seen the issue queue lately?
But I thought when we went from 7 to 8, there was a massive cull that we tried to do to get rid of all the things that didn't seem necessary.
Oh, fair. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I guess the answer to that question is that in 2011, Yoroi decided to move it from 7 to 8 rather than close it.
So that's an awful long time. My opinion is if this was still an issue, you'd hear a recent comment on it. This is too old and too specific to the UI and to the theme that you're using. It just doesn't seem to be relevant at this point in time.
Had a few comments in 2015 and 2016, and then nothing until last year when the Bug Smash initiative, trying to go through old issues, turned it up.
So I also think there's something here about how a site or might present status messages, because Drupal intentionally allows for that flexibility. Like the theming in there can completely pull apart status messages and reassemble them in some weird fashion. I'm thinking like if you're building a more of an application built on Drupal rather than a stock site, like you might actually have the status messages pop up as like floating things on the side. And like that's theoretically something you might do. So I almost want to say like this just closes as outdated. Like I think the problem is too nuanced at the to for this.
That's
Yeah,
another way of saying my opinion. So I agree.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
yeah, I would say closes won't fix rather than closes outdated. Also,
Oh, fair.
one
Yeah.
of Roy's comments was basically a completely different change. He wants to keep status warning and status messages together, warning messages together, error messages together, but put them in order of importance. So first the errors, then the warnings, then the status. And the screenshot shows that we have status messages first, and then I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure whether that's a warning or an error message. I also think that the most specific part of the proposed solution is to provide a weight parameter to Drupal set messages. That interface has changed. It's now the messenger service, But anyway, the idea of providing a weight parameter that the module code can set when generating the message, that doesn't seem to me to be a useful option, because if I'm creating a message and you are collecting messages, then I'm not the one who can say what order they should be in. You should be the one saying what order they should be in. So I just don't see how a weight parameter would be helpful.
Yeah, I'd agree. And kind of going back to my example there of something that displays them in, on the corner, almost like notification toasts, like that. There might be, I could as Drupal's becoming more API first, I could very well see a situation where we have like these real-time status messages that pop up as things are happening. Like maybe the site is communicating to the server in the back end, like, and in that situation, the like a waiting thing to being time-based waiting has absolutely no relevance, because it's a first come first serve kind of thing.
So yeah, I refer to Benji's description of closed won't fix. So
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be much value in adding a wait.
Okay, so I guess I can comment on that issue as well, unless someone else wants to take that responsibility, and maybe we can wrap the meeting for today.
sounds like a plan.
And I'll comment it out for today.
Okay. Well,
That's
thank you
going to
all.
sound really out of context in the recording, but maybe just chop that bit off if you can.
Oh, well, I can't chop it off because I have to include this part where I say thank you for coming, and we'll
Okay,
do this again next week.
that's fine. All the recording needs to know is I wrote an extremely long series of comments earlier. So
Everyone for coming.
Okay.
yeah,
Take care.
thanks everyone. Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.